Falls from height are the leading cause of deaths in the industry, particularly during jobs relating to construction and maintenance. Falls from heights as little as 1.8 meters can cause serious injuries and sometimes even death. Working at height. This course will help you to identify the hazards associated with working at height and scaffold work, including their erection, modification and dismantling. Provide the safe practice required for overcoming the identified hazards. Communicate the role and responsibilities of all personnel associated with working at height. Learn about the types of ladders and scaffolds, mandatory requirements and specifications, training, forms and checklists, deviation process, audit, etc. At JSW, all line managers and their team dealing in work at height are responsible for adhering to the standard during working at height. These include their contractors and workforce. Any work that is carried out at a height of 1.8 meters or higher without any physical protection, such as permanent platform with completed guardrails and where the risk of a fall from height exists. For any working at height, there must be a permit and a working at height certificate. Here are some examples of working at height where a safety full body harness should be used. Elevated working positions where there is no physical protection, such as handrails. Working near unprotected roof edges or on sloping roofs. Working on open steel formwork, piping or equipment. Working from straight ladders where it is necessary to work with both hands. Working on incomplete scaffolds, suspended stage or other types of suspended scaffolding. Preparing to work at height. A critical step for planning is adopting the hierarchy of control. Follow this order when there is a need to work at heights. The best and ideal method is to completely eliminate the fall exposure by avoiding working at height if possible. The next best system is to prevent falls by means of well-designed platforms with guardrails. The last level is to protect personnel from falls by use of proper fall arrest equipment. Identification of hazards and risk assessment. A simple inspection can mean a difference between life and death. Before beginning work, the work location should be inspected thoroughly, including the constraints and any other specific requirements associated with working at height. A risk assessment report should be prepared and documented. This is the responsibility of the permit authorizer and the permit applicant. It is the permit holder's responsibility to see that all precautions identified in the risk assessment are being followed. The permit holder must remain at the job site during all work. Based on the risk assessment, appropriate fall arrest systems, other equipment and workers are allocated for the job. The workers must be properly trained and screened for acrophobia, fear of heights, at an authorized medical center or OHC once in 6 months. After passing the medical test, the height pass is to be issued by Safety Department. Sloping roofs. Before working on a sloping roof, select the appropriate roof ladder for the job and ensure anchor points are available for fixing required lifeline. Planning and preparation. The authorized person should ensure that a trained rescue team is available with appropriate rescue equipment and plan. He should also ensure that the contact details of the rescue team members are displayed on site. Before using the personal fall arrest system, the components should be visually inspected. For work at height, when no permanent work platform is available, proper scaffolds and/or temporary work platforms with guardrails should be provided. rope ladders, drums, barrels, chairs, cable trays should never be used as a work platform to work at height. Before beginning any work at height, the work area should be properly barricaded to prevent people from walking across and below the working area. If barricading the work area is not possible, safety nets should be erected and the prominent warning signs should be posted in the work area. Fall prevention and protection system. Whenever personnel are required to work at height in places where there is no provision of proper work platforms, such as scaffolds, it is essential that they are fully protected from fall by the use of full body harness with double lanyard. Fall arrest systems. A full body harness is a protective piece of equipment that, when worn properly, is designed to distribute fall arrest forces over thighs, pelvis, waist, chest and shoulders of the user by means of the leg strap, waist strap, chest strap and dorsal D-ring respectively. The full body harness is then attached to a fixed anchorage point through double lanyards. Double lanyard. It is specially designed flexible line, generally 1.5 meters long, that has a snap hook at one end which is connected to the dorsal D-ring of the full body harness. The other side is attached through a shock absorber to a set of double lanyards, each of which has a snap hook that can be attached to an anchorage point or a lifeline. The purpose of the double lanyard is to ensure that at least one line is connected to a fixed point all the time as the person moves from place to place. Whenever you use the lanyards, never combine lanyards to increase the length or knot them to make them shorter. Remember, a knot will reduce the strength of a lanyard by 50%. Ensure that the lanyard is not cut, pinched or led over a sharp edge. These lanyards are to be attached to anchor points. These points must be strong enough to withstand the force of a falling person. Safety nets. Safety nets are usually made of rope mesh and are designed to catch workers if they fall. Safety nets alone should not be used as a fall protection system. The safety net also protects those below from falling objects. Inspection of a fall arrest system. Full body harness with double lanyard must be inspected by the user before each use. Along with self-inspection, the system must be inspected by the designated line managers every month and by authorized management personnel every 6 months. Ladders. Ladders are commonly used to reach or to gain access to higher areas or levels and sometimes used to perform work. Improper use of ladders is the leading cause of ladder-related injuries. With a wide variety of ladders available, it is easy to find one that suits the job you're doing. Factors such as working height, supporting surfaces, and total weight to be carried are all critical to making the right choice. Ladders should be of good quality and must be IS certified. You need to look at the support that is available for the ladder in the area where you will be working. If the only support at the work location is the ground or floor, you will need a self-supporting ladder. These ladders include step ladders, platform ladders, and articulated ladders. If top support, such as wall, is available, you may select a non-self-supporting ladder, such as single ladders and extension ladders. A fixed ladder is non-adjustable in length and permanently attached to a structure. They should be provided with a cage when the height is more than 3 meters. If fixed ladders do not have a cage, use a safety harness to climb more than 3 meters. An extension ladder is a fixed ladder divided into 2 or more lengths. It may be self-supporting or non-self-supporting. A tiltable tower extension ladder has a platform with guardrail and tool tray and is operated with a winch gear machine. All ladders shall be placed on firm ground, secured at the top and intermediate positions to maintain them rigidly in place. To ensure the stability of the ladder, place the base of the ladder 30 centimeters away from the wall for every 1.2 meters that the ladder rises. If you need to climb onto another surface, such as roof, on a non-self supporting ladder, then make sure the ladder extends at least 1 meter above the level you are climbing onto. The top support also allows you to tie off or secure the top of the extension ladder to improve stability. A co-worker should hold or support the extension ladder until the top is tied off or secured. If you have to work from a ladder with the feet 1.8 meters or more above the floor, use full body harness attached to a suitable anchor point. Fall protection should always be attached to an anchor point before tying off the ladder. It should be detached only after untying the ladder. If no suitable anchor point is available, the ladder should be held by a second person to provide added stability. In an effort to avoid losing your balance and falling off an extension ladder, you must not step or stand higher than the step indicated on the label marking the highest standing level. When ascending or descending the ladder, always face the ladder and hold the side rails firmly. Be careful to use both hands to climb up the front side of the ladder and ensure that you have 3-point contact at all time. That is, 2 feet and 1 hand, or 1 foot and 2 hands all the time. Therefore, never carry tools in hand while climbing. Use rope or container or other suitable means for carrying material from or to the ground. Ensure ladders are clear of hot surfaces, chemical or other hazards with adequate climbing clearance. Do not lean or stretch outside the side rails to avoid falling. A rule of thumb is not to stretch so far that your belt buckle is outside the rails of the ladder. Always use insulated ladders or wooden ladders when working on electrical equipment. Be aware of electrical hazards close by, if any, when using metal ladders or wooden ladders with metal reinforcements. Do not use ladders as work platforms or as structural members of scaffolds or as walkways. Repair or remove broken or damaged ladders promptly. Ladder rung spacing should be equal and not more than 300 mm. Provide intermediate platforms on vertical ladders when the height is more than 9 meters. Provide snap chains or gate in the guardrail of the platform where the ladder joins. If a straight ladder or extension ladder is being used for access to a work area, as opposed to working from the ladder, where frequent trips up the ladder will be made, consideration should be given to providing fall protection such as retractable lifeline or vertical lifeline with rope grab for those climbing the ladder. Be aware of the following precautions while using a ladder. The appropriate ladder must allow you to stand at the proper working height while maintaining a safe distance from the top. Remember that most self-supporting ladders require you to stand at least 60 centimeters below the top of the ladder to maintain stability. While using step ladders, always make sure the ladder is fully open and spreaders locked. If you can't reach something, never overreach. Get down and move your ladder. Don't ever use the top step and don't climb, straddle, sit or stand on the ladder top. Never use ladders in horizontal position. Always wear clean, slip-resistant shoes while climbing. Keep steps, rungs, gripping surfaces and platforms free of oil, grease or slippery materials. Only one person at a time is permitted on a ladder unless the ladder is specifically designed for more than one climber. Inspection of ladders. Ensure that there is a system for a routine monthly inspection, maintenance and tagging of all ladders. In addition to the monthly inspection, the user must do a visual inspection prior to each use. Even a ladder that fits the job perfectly is useless if it won't pass a safety inspection. Normal wear and tear, accidents and harsh environments can weaken a ladder or make it unstable. If the ladder has few missing steps or other components, remove it from service immediately until it can be repaired or replaced. Next, look for dents, bends or other signs of impact damage in side rails and steps. This kind of damage can weaken the entire structure. If you find a defective ladder, remove it from use, tag it not ready for use and report it to your supervisor. Do not try to repair broken or bent side rails. Scaffolds. A scaffold is a temporary elevated work platform and its supporting structure, including points of anchorage. It is used to support workers, material or both. A scaffold should be firmly fixed and never supported on boxes, loose bricks or any materials that can be crushed or toppled under scaffold weight. All such scaffolds should be guarded on all sides. Railings and toe boards should be provided on the platform. The mid-rail and top rail shall be at height 525 mm and 1050 mm respectively, and toe boards 150 mm should be securely attached to the platform. Scaffold platform should be secured to the bearing member by using cleats, tying with wires or by nailing to toe boards, etc. This is to prevent the platforms from slipping off the supports and to avoid the boards from tipping up. Platforms should be completely decked and with no holes. Maximum gap of 25 mm. Proper staircases or fixed ladders must be provided on scaffolds for climbing up or down. Cross braces should be of such length that will automatically square and align the vertical members so the scaffold remains plumb, square and rigid. Rest decks or intermediate platforms should be provided at every 9 meters of height. Scaffolds should be secured from sliding when the scaffold height exceeds 4 times its minimum base dimension. Any supported scaffold with a high center of gravity is at risk of toppling. Scaffold poles, legs, posts, frames and uprights should also be braced to prevent swaying. The scaffold must be capable of supporting its own weight and at least 4 times the maximum intended load and any load transmitted to the scaffold during use. The intended load consists of all personal, equipment and material load, and it must not exceed the maximum working load of any fixed platform, portable platforms or scaffolding. Platforms should be kept clean and free of oil, grease, debris and other tripping hazards. Working on slippery platforms and climbing slippery ladder rungs are dangerous. Standing on guardrails while working should be avoided. During a scaffold construction, the competent person plays a significant role in ensuring safety. The competent person must have the ability to identify existing and predictable hazards with the authority to make necessary corrections. In most cases, the competent person is someone with a combination of on-the-job experience and numerous training credits. All components must be duly inspected before the assembly begins. Planking should be scaffold grade or equivalent and free from damage. All scaffold components must meet the applicable standards as per the JSW safety standard and procedure. Mixing of components or dissimilar metals should only be done with the approval of the competent person. Inspection and tagging of scaffolds. It is very important that there is an established system of inspection and tagging of all scaffolds. Two different types of inspections are required for each complete scaffold built on the site. Post-erection inspection by the competent person. User inspection before every use by each work group using the scaffold. Even if a scaffold has an inspection tag certifying that it is safe, it must be inspected before use by the work group to ensure that it has not been modified in any way. After inspection by the competent person, tags must be attached to the scaffolds. These tags should contain the name of the competent person who has inspected the scaffold, the date and time of the inspection. There are two different tags that are affixed to a scaffold, namely green and red. A green tag denotes the standard requirements for that specific scaffold have been met and the scaffold is complete and ready to use. A red danger tag denotes danger. Do not climb or use structure in any way. If you see this tag hanging on a scaffold, do not use this scaffold. Do not use any scaffold that does not have a tag signed by a competent person. Other mobile equipment. Aerial lifts are safe only when they are used correctly, as they elevate workers above the ground or floor level. Accidents caused by improper use can lead to serious injuries and fatalities. Man lifts, bucket trucks, scissor lifts and cherry pickers are commonly used in industrial maintenance applications. Most man lifts have safety rails and emergency shut-off switches to assure worker safety. Bucket trucks are types of mobile aerial work platform mounted on a truck. Scissor lifts have large workstations that give plenty of room for workers and equipment. Cherry pickers have open buckets or cages at the end from which a worker can perform aerial work. The lifting arms of cherry pickers usually come with automatic safety controls and can handle the most challenging high-reach jobs. Safety precautions need to be followed during operations of man lifts, bucket trucks and cherry pickers. Always close lift platform chains or doors. Stand on the floor of the bucket or lift platform. Do not climb on or lean over guardrails. Do not exceed manufacturer's load capacity limits. If working near traffic, set up work zone warnings like cones and signs. To prevent electrocutions, workers must stay at a safe distance depending on the voltage rating of the electrical line. If one has to work closer than this distance, then the power line must be de-energized and locked out. To prevent falls, wear a full body harness while in the buckets and anchor appropriately. To prevent tip-overs, do not drive with the lift platform elevated and do not extend vertical or horizontal reach limits or the specified load capacity of the lift. When working on an elevated scissor lift, avoid too much pushing or pulling. Obtain the work permit with Work at Height certificate. Working at height must be authorized through a work permit for all activities including working at height over water, working on man basket, working on man lifts or scissor lifts near overhead lines or barges, working on fragile roof or side sheeting or superstructures, working on EOT or gantry crane maintenance, working over 1.8 meters. The permit applicant issues the work permit after verifying the site conditions are safe and obtaining the authorization from the permit authorizer. Before authorizing the permit authorizer ensures the workers involved are physically fit to perform work at heights and are free from any health issues, acrophobia, and other illnesses. The permit holder begins work after obtaining the work permit and complies with the permit requirements. After the work is complete, the work permit should be closed and returned to the permit authorizer. The permit must identify the length of time for which it is valid and be eligible only for the permitted duration of time. However, the permit should be revalidated on change of shifts. Emergency preparedness. Each plant will ensure that an emergency rescue plan is in place for all work at height activities. The rescue team will be fully trained for the rescue operation, including first aid, and will have appropriate rescue equipment. Training. All personnel, regular or flexible, and contractor employees who are required to work at height shall be trained on all aspects, including proper use of fall protection devices. Audits and checks. Audits and checks are required to keep the equipment and personal protective equipment in good condition. Procedure renewal process. The working at height standard shall be reviewed and revised as necessary and at a minimum, not later than 2 years from the date of the last revision. Deviation process. Deviations from the standard must be authorized by the plant head only, after consultation with the plant level standards and procedures subcommittee members and relevant experts. Summary. Lifeline to lanyard to harness are provided for your safety. Do your part by using and maintaining them properly. Everyone involved in erecting, dismantling, or working on scaffolds should understand it thoroughly with the safe work practices. Know your equipment and its limitations. Make use of fall protection at its best whenever required, and be safe.